Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. You can take Dan's name tag down. I didn't know he couldn't make it. Because we have...
Mike was right.
I thought you said that last time.
See how smart you are? Does it say Plan Commission? What does it
Oh, that
say?
one says village board.
There you go.
It's a miracle.
Not quite as graceful as better wife.
Let's see. Are we almost on, Brett, or?
Yep, we're ready.
I got 1 minute. Guys, you got 1 minute?
Yep.
Oh, it's 5:30. I'm gonna go ahead, oops. I'm gonna go ahead and call the Village of Vernon Plan Commission and Board meeting to order. Today is Thursday, September 19th, 2024. It is 5:30 p.m. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Brad, do you mind doing roll call and open meeting compliance?
Sure. President Chu,
I'm here.
Trustee Pecca may show up later. Trustee Finch,
Here.
Trustee Newman,
Here.
Trustee Millies,
Here.
Commissioner Nowak and Commissioner Rinaldi are excused. Commissioner Alex,
Here.
this meeting is noticed and posted according to law.
And we do have a quorum of the Village Board and Plan Commission, 3 each. I'm going to go ahead and read this public notice. Public notice is hereby given that the public hearing will be held by the Village of Vernon Board and Plan Commission on Thursday, September 19, 2024 at 5:30 at the Vernon Village Hall, located at W249 South 8910 Center Drive, to consider requests for David Hoffman for the property owned by Rick and Marlene Rinderly, located at South 82 West 26380 National Avenue in the Village of McGuanago, mailing 53149. The property is identified by tax key number VNT 20819870001 for the issuance of a conditional use permit to allow a landscaping business per section 322 paren 9 of the Village of Vernon zoning ordinances. The hearing is originally scheduled to be held on September 11th at 6 p.m., but it needed to be adjourned to Thursday, September 19th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. And as it states, we did adjourn that meeting to this date. And what I wanted to explain is, obviously this is a public hearing, so what we're going to do is I was going to have Sean give an overview of the conditional use request, and then Dave or Rick, if you wanted to come to the microphone. Is the microphone on?
Yes, that one is.
There's a red button flashing, so then we'd have you come to the microphone if you needed to add anything above and beyond what Sean does in his overview. Then we'll open the comments up to the public to see if there's any public comments, and we'll turn to the Plan Commission and Village Board for their comments. Go back to the public, go back to the Plan Commission Board till everybody has their comments done, and once we know all the comments are made, we'll close the public hearing. So while Brad's changing those batteries, I'll ask Sean Malarkey, our Zoning and Planning Administrator, to give an overview of the request by Mr. Rinderly made by Mr. Hoffman. Sean?
Thank you. So, as mentioned, they're looking for a conditional use permit for essentially a greenhouse operation in the B2 business district. You have it up over. Thank you. Here's the property. It's essentially near the corner of Oakdale County Highway XX and National Avenue, just one property in from the corner, essentially. The property itself has access to both roads. However, there's only currently access from National Avenue. The petitioner only plans access from National Avenue at this time. You can see there's a couple of different structures in the property. Here's the existing main building. There's a couple of greenhouses that are attached off to the east, and a couple of the greenhouse structures further to the northwest of the property. Those are supposed to remain. The existing structures that are on the east side of the property are going to be removed in favor of the new building that's going to be constructed. If you recall, last month, in August, we approved the amendments to the conditional use section for both contractors' yards and the landscaping and greenhouse business to make some changes with regard to the setbacks. I'll get into that when I get to the specific conditions. So this property's been used as a greenhouse in the past. It's been discontinued for some time, and we're looking to do it again, essentially to grow vegetables to be distributed to a local nonprofit or nonprofits. There won't be any retail sales, none are planned at this time, so it won't be part of this conditional use request. So as I mentioned, it is Zone B2. I'm going to turn the zoning layer on here so you can kind of get a sense of the zoning for the property and the surrounding area. So the pink is B2, which is the same as the corner, which is Callan Construction. There's also property across the street, which is Shadows Pet Grooming. That's also B2. The rest of the properties are used for residential and zoned for residential. Again, A2 to the north, more A2 across the street, and then RRD5 across Oakdale Drive. If you look at the future land use plan, here's Oakdale and here's National Avenue. Here's the property in question. The majority of the properties on the north side are all planned for commercial, including the subject property, so that also lends itself to the specific use being requested. The plan of operation is essentially going to be greenhouse operation, including offices, break room, and restroom for staff. Greenhouse will be used for vegetables to be distributed to local nonprofits, and storage of equipment and materials, no retail sales on the site. Up to 4 part-time employees. All vehicles, equipment, and materials will be stored indoors when not in use. And hours of operation will be Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and then Saturday, 7 a.m. till noon. So here's the existing layout. The proposed layout is here. You can see those existing greenhouses remain. The old greenhouses are you can see the silhouette of them here. That will be removed. Here's the new greenhouse structure that's going to be attached to the main building. And there's an existing structure out front that I understand is going to, obviously non-conforming in terms of location. I think it's pretty much open air at this point, but that's not intended to be removed at this point. So there are some specific conditions that go along with this that we just looked at and approved last month. The first condition for landscape, lawn, greenhouse, and garden business is essentially that all buildings and areas of the property used in the conduct of the business have to be at least 100 feet from the lot line of an adjoining lot in a residential district, or 50 feet from a lot line in any other district. These distances can be reduced as low as the minimum setback and offsets required by the zoning district at the discretion of the board upon recommendation of the plan commission based on compatibility of the surroundings. And so the existing operation, the existing greenhouses, and the proposed greenhouse, the nearest distance essentially is this distance here, and that's going to be 51 plus feet from the nearest lot line that includes residential. So it doesn't meet the standard of 100 feet, but you have discretion to basically reduce that if you think it's compatible with surroundings. So everything else matches or meets the requirements except that building, but again, that discretion. The property has to be on a collector or arterial roadway, and National Avenue is an arterial roadway. This requires a planting screen of at least 10 feet in initial height, with 15 feet in width between the proposed use and any abutting property line. The village board, upon receipt of a recommendation from the plan commission, may increase or decrease the planting screen based on location and compatibility. So there's actually no new landscaping proposed as part of the current proposal, but as you can see by from the aerial photograph, there is substantial landscaping on the west side, the north side, the east side. There's even landscaping along National Avenue as well. We can talk more about this when we get into it. I'm also going to address the typical landscape standards for any commercial use as well. In determining whether or not the proposed conditional use should be approved, the board, upon receipt of a recommendation from the village plan commission, shall make the determination whether the proposed conditional use is compatible with adjacent land uses in the surrounding area as it relates to noise, traffic, dust, hours of operation. Site plan of operation is required, which they have submitted. It's restricted to service-oriented business and prohibited from manufacturing and assembling products. As mentioned before, no on-site retail is proposed as part of this. Design and size of the structure is used, and the operation shall be subject to the specific conditions in the ordinance and the conditional use permit. And then finally, all offices, vehicle storage, greenhouses, shade houses, storage bins, maintenance or service of facilities, hazardous chemicals or salt storage shall comply with all applicable federal, state, county, and village regulations. So those are the specific conditions you have to weigh this under. There's also the general conditional use conditions for any conditional use, essentially finding that the proposed use will not violate the spirit or intent of the ordinances or the comprehensive plan, shall not be contrary to the public health, safety, and welfare, and shall not be hazardous, harmful, noxious, offensive, or a nuisance, and otherwise meet the provisions of the code. So we'll get back to those. In terms of the buildings and structures, they have proposed some architectural improvements as part of the operation. This is what the new building is supposed to look like. There isn't a picture of the existing building as it stands today, but this is certainly a vast improvement over what's out there today. They've also supplied some renderings of, so that's the front as seen from National Avenue. This is looking from the north. This is looking from the west. And these are just the line drawings. So you can see this large structure is the large metal greenhouse structure that's going to be attached. Those are the existing greenhouses to the northwest. And these are the improvements to the existing building. So our code essentially requires the Plan Commission and more to find that the materials are appropriate. Essentially, the new building, or the remodeled building here, will be LP Smart Side, vertical LP Smart Side. They have a metal roof and then wood accents that you can see here on the underside of the soffit, and then the entrance. And the greenhouse building itself, which can't be seen here, but is seen in this photo, is essentially a metal building with a metal roof that's behind. Parking, there aren't any specific parking requirements for the specific use. The closest thing is essentially manufacturing, warehousing, and contractor facilities. Requires one space per each employee. They're going to have 4 part-time employees. If you look at the site plan, there's a large paved area being put in an asphalt drive. There's a paved area in front as well. There aren't any dedicated striped parking spaces, but there appears to be more than enough room for employee parking. I guess it's up to the Plan Commission to determine if it needs to be striped or not. Loading docks. Loading docks are essentially required to be screened from public view. However, there is in the front of the building, this isn't a loading dock per se, but there is an overhead garage door that's essentially accented by the roof overhang. It's a feature. Obviously, the door here is high quality with detailing, including the windows, etc. The rest of the loading docks are around the corner as part of the large greenhouse building. All materials and equipment will be stored indoors when not in use. The refuse container will be stored behind the building, essentially, so that'll be out of view as well. In terms of landscaping, so again, I mentioned the ordinance requires a certain amount of landscaping. Per our design standards, requires street frontage, district boundary landscaping, parking landscaping, building foundation, general site landscaping. Based on the amount of landscaping that's already on the site, I found, or it's my opinion, that they don't need to do any additional landscaping because it's already there from existing. It's up to the Plan Commission board, essentially, based on the specific condition for greenhouses, etc., whether or not any additional landscaping needs to be required again, because you can relax the standards or you can increase more. I guess the only thing I will say, if you look at the overhead view, there is an existing house just to the northeast here, and there is obviously some landscaping along the boundary, but this is going to be removed and the new building is going to be there. So I haven't been on the site and I can't tell exactly what it looks like, and I guess I'd ask the petitioner to speak to it. There could be a need for potential additional landscaping here between the house and the greenhouse. I don't exactly know what's there, so that's up for debate. Exterior lighting, there's no lighting plan per se, but there's a few fixtures that are shown to be will be located on the building. They aren't on. or this image here. So you can see there's a fixture here. There's a couple fixtures in the back by the doors and overhead. So we require essentially downward facing lighting, no more than 25 feet high, cutoff lighting, no more than half-foot candle at the property line. There isn't a photometric plan for this, but the petitioner has submitted a gooseneck lighting type of lighting that would be similar. So if the planning commission board wants, we can ask them to submit a photometric plan, but I feel fairly confident, especially because there's only essentially one light. Here on the east side, there's essentially 51 feet from this light to the property line. Because of the downcast, it should be under the required lighting levels as well. No signage is proposed at this time, and I did ask the planning commission to check in with Waukesha County to make sure that there's no stormwater or erosion control measures. So that'll be a condition of approval. So we won't issue a building permit until we hear back from Waukesha County.
And I spoke with them, we're just waiting for this to get.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. So I do have a series of conditions if you do choose to approve this. The one thing I would add is that the last condition from the specific conditions related to meeting all federal regulations for storage of materials, et cetera, I don't have that in the conditions. That should be added to my conditions, and then this talks about approval of documents submitted or presented on September 11th. Since we didn't have a meeting last week, that should be updated to September 19th, which is today. So that's all I have for an introduction.
Thank you, Sean. Dave, did you want to add anything to?
I don't really think so. I guess other than just it's obviously not a greenhouse. It's just going to be a pole structure for storage. The greenhouse that exists to the east, obviously, that is getting removed. The greenhouse in the back are staying. There is quite substantial landscaping in the front, and then towards that back, I do see a little
fence there too.
Yeah, I do see what you're saying. There may be the need a little bit to add some additional there. I guess we could discuss that. But as soon as you get past that existing greenhouse, that hedgerow is pretty dense.
Yeah, understood. I can see the fence here. I can see a little bit of a fence, which ends here. I don't know, what is that, like a 6-foot opaque fence?
And then there's just a small area, and then there's bush after that.
Yeah, so there might be some additional landscaping.
That little area
necessary
right
to look here,
Yeah.
just for, or fencing or something for extra screening.
Right. And then just the front facade of the building, obviously on the left-hand side, those are the things that already exist. We're just dressing them up.
Right. This is
that overhead door.
Right.
Yep.
So it pops up here. So.
How far from the lot line are those greenhouses now that are going to be removed?
They're very close now. Let's see.
Yeah, so we're going to 50
It's like
feet.
12 feet, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to 50 feet now from the lot line, so we're improving that, which
Absolutely.
I'm fine with then, since.
Well, I'd just like him to finish his comments, and then we'll open to the public.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're improving the situation in a variety of scenarios. The facade to the road, much more pleasing. Right now, it's a cinder block building with a very utilitarian door, so improving the existing structure, and then I think improving the situation to the east of taking that greenhouse that is 10 foot from the lot line and now making it conform to the 50 foot we talked about. So, other than that, I don't think I have anything additional.
Mr. Rennerly, you need to add anything? Okay. Mr. Hoffman, if you just want to take a seat, what I'd like to do is open it up to the public. For anybody that would like to make any comments, I would like to have you state your name and address for the record. So is there anyone from the public that would like to make any comments?
I just have a question.
Could you come up to the microphone and state your name and address, please?
Heidi Rebernick, South 81 West 26320, National Avenue. I had a question, and I think I must have misunderstood something. I thought you said something about buildings need to be 100 feet from the lot line. So how were those greenhouses jammed in there at 12 feet? Just because it's a greenhouse?
They were constructed prior to that ordinance requirement. So
Okay.
our current ordinances regarding greenhouses and landscaping businesses requires 100 feet from lot line, it isn't residential, and 50 feet if it is residential. However, there's a provision in there that essentially gives the planning commission board discretion to relax that if they feel it's compatible and there's proper buffering and so on and so forth. So in this case, the new proposed, not a greenhouse structure, I misspoke, but essentially the warehouse structure that complements the greenhouses is going to be 51 feet. So it doesn't meet the ordinance in terms of 100 feet from a residential lot line, but they have discretion to relax it if they want.
Okay, and how tall is that building gonna be?
Do you know off the top of your
It's
head?
not gonna be any taller than the existing structure that's on there off the top of my head. I think we can't exceed, I think it's like 20-some feet. A little over 27 feet, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there any other comments from the public? Seeing none right now, I turn it back to the Plan Commissioner Board for any questions or comments they have. Jay?
Well,
could
I've
you
known
please-
that,
Could you talk into your microphone? Trustee Becca?
I've lived out here for 40 years, and when it was Ludy, I believe that's the old Ludigen Farm building or whatever, I have never seen that place a mess or whatever, so like, you just, like, keep your property up and, don't have a mess or anything, like, just piles all over the place, especially visible from the road, and, like, all garbage taken care of, like in the dumpsters. I have absolutely no problem at all. And I certainly want to see small business come to Vernon.
Thank you, Trustee Becca. Trustee Newman?
I have to agree with Jeff on this one. I think they're agreeing to take down something that's 10 feet from the property line and improve the property significantly. So I'd be in favor of it.
Trustee Finch?
I'm in favor of him.
Trustee Millies?
The only comments I'm in favor of, that would be a good addition of Vernon.
Commissioner Alex?
The only thing I would clarify is I think, Sean, when you were talking for the question, so it's 100 feet from residential, 50 from commercial. I think also looking at the comp plan, seeing that the goal would be commercial in that area, kind of gives way to kind of say, well, if we're hoping that commercial continues down there, all of a sudden what would be residential, now we're meeting that 50-foot requirement if it's commercial.
So I guess I would ask, is there any discussion whatsoever on the standard in terms of besides what Mike just said in terms of the decrease? Does everyone agree that it makes sense to decrease the minimum requirement of 100 feet down to the 51 feet as proposed?
The way I see it is if we don't do it, they keep up the old ones that are 10 feet from the property line. That's what I'd do if I were them.
Yeah, I think the Plan Commission concurs that it's an improvement to the property, not a detriment. I just know for the record that everybody's shaking their head yes, just so.
Any other discussion on additional landscaping other regarding what's out there? I know there is substantial landscaping surrounding the property. We talked about the small gap. Do you think it's necessary to put any additional landscaping there? Which is essentially, this, from the edge of the fence here to the start of these bushes and trees, whether anything additional is required there.
I don't think anything additional is required.
It'd be nice if they put it in,
Um,
but it's not gonna hide the building.
we're calling
It's
this,
not going to have to go.
Right.
we're calling this a commercial building, yet the public's not coming to it. Just got a few employees coming out. It's really no more traffic than a large family home would have coming in and out.
It's going to look like a large accessory structure there essentially in the property.
Yeah, I think it'll fit in nicely, and I don't see any issues with it where we need to increase any restrictions on it.
How big is that gap? How many feet is that gap?
It's 51 feet.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry, the gap,
at the most, it's 10 feet.
that's about
another,
right.
we can just extend the fence.
Okay, well, 20, it depends, it's hard to see where this ends, but maybe 15 feet.
Yeah, I don't know that it's gonna make a big difference, but.
So Rick, you
Hurt
said
to
you
make
would
it uniform.
just extend the fence a little bit?
Just extend the fence.
Yeah, because there's no landscaping that's gonna hide
Yeah.
that for a long, long time.
But the neighbors might appreciate a little privacy.
And probably the business also.
And honestly, nobody's probably going to be back here operating because there's no part of the operation that's shown there. It's, everything is within the building and sort of focused here. So people aren't going to be over there, but, it's going to block some of the view of the building is what it's going to do.
Further discussion from the commission or the board? What else now is that the public? Are there any other additional public comments or questions in regards to what the Plan Commissioner Board have asked, or any other public comments? So no, for the record, there's no public comments, no further comments from the board or commission. There are none, so I'm going to close the public hearing. And then Sean, I wanted to ask you we're into discussion and action of the conditional use and the site plan of operation. Sean, you mentioned that you currently have 12 conditions of approval, and you said we should add 13?
Yeah, 13 is essentially item H from the specific conditions for, these types of conditional uses, which again states all offices, vehicles, et cetera, shall comply with all applicable federal, state, county, and village regulations. So that's a specific condition for greenhouses. I missed that. We need to add that to the conditions and change the date from September 11th to September 19th.
The date of your...
The date of compliance with everything presented to the Planning Commission.
Okay. Are there questions from the Planning Commissioner board? Well, really we'll turn it over to the Planning Commission now, because they would be making a recommendation. Sean, do you want these recommendations, can they be, together with the conditional use and the site plan of operation?
Yes, I would say it's together. My motion is essentially to approve the conditional use and site plan of operation with these conditions. I guess the only thing I'd ask is the Planning Commission board to come to agreement that they meet or agree to meet the conditions as stated in the ordinance for this particular use and conditional uses in general, just so that's part of the record.
And do you want that part of the motion, Sean? Or?
I think it's just part of the discussion as long as
Okay.
it's part of the minutes.
So, Sean, do you want me to ask that question specifically, or how would you like that done?
Sure.
Okay, so the question to the Plan Commission is, Sean, you just want to repeat just so...
Yeah, does the petitioner's application and the petitioner here tonight, do they meet or agree to meet? Have you found that they meet or agree to meet the conditions for this particular type of business as a conditional use in the village of Vernon?
I feel 100%.
Yes.
And note for the record that the Plan Commission concurs, so that's and I have to state, Rick, I know him, but I mean the proposal that they're bringing forth, instead of looking at an empty building, this is so much nicer.
And the petitioner agrees to all the conditions in the staff report?
And I commend you also for what you're trying to do. I think that's very admirable. Plan Commission members, is there discussion or is there a motion on the floor for recommendation or denial to the village board? I'll make a motion to recommend approval to the village board of the site plan of operation for the conditional use permit for Dave Hoffman for the property owned by Rick and Marlene Rinderly as the address indicated on the agenda, with the date changed from the 11th to the 19th, and condition number 13 added that the petitioner will comply with all federal, county, state, and local ordinances. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Alex. I always want to call you Commissioner Mike. Commissioner Alex, is there a discussion from the Plan Commission? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. No, for the record, it's unanimous. I'll turn to the village board. Village board, you heard I already have a motion of concurrence from Trustee Newman to agree with the Plan Commission's recommendations as stated by the President. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Second by Trustee Finch. Discussion from the village board. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
So once you give me the documentation from the county on stormwater and then also the sanitary system, we can issue a permit and be off the way.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night. With that, I would entertain a motion from the Plan Commission to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Plan Commission is adjourned. Is there a motion from the village board to adjourn from this meeting?
So moved.
Commissioner, Trustee Millies, is there a second to the motion? Second by Trustee Pecca. Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Village board is adjourned from this meeting, but hang on, we got another one. Thank you, Mike. Take care. Let's see, what time we got, guys? We have 2 minutes. So if anybody has to do anything, we have 2 minutes before we start.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.